Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth,
Brian,
and Kirsten.
So we've got a trip report this week. Beth just got back from her little vacation to Walt Disney World, so I'm excited to hear about how you feel about the parks in their current state. But let's dive right into the news, and we'll get into that in a second. First thing we've got on here is that there is some more details about Halloween entertainment at the Magic Kingdom coming our way. It looks like we talked about this last week, I believe. The special Halloween cavalcades will be popping up throughout Main Street. You're going to see some costumes from the characters, kind of how they're doing it now. But the big thing that I took away from this is that, one, we're getting villains on this Halloween cavalcade, which is really exciting. More chances to meet villains is always awesome.
Or at least see them from a distance.
Yes. We're also getting Jack Skellington, which I think is a big seller for park meet and greets for these events. So that's really cool that they're keeping him around through the day. And then the other big thing is that the Cadaver Dans will be coming out on September 20th. They're going to start doing their Boo to You performances throughout the day like they would on a regular Halloween party night.
Yes.
Very good news.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for them to come back, even though I won't get to see them, just knowing that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that they're doing these things as kind of a supplementary. We're not doing Halloween this year. Here's your little bits of Halloween that you would have wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It feels like Disney doesn't often acknowledge things like this, but now that they're doing it, it's like, okay, they understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that they're putting in an effort to bring some sense of normalcy back to the parks.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how this... Go ahead.
I'm really glad it's the Dapper Dans, just because I feel like entertainment like that, atmosphere entertainment has kind of suffered in the past few years. And I'm always worried that what if the Dapper Dans get put on the chopping block? So this feels like a recognition that they're really loved.
It's a valid concern to have, but I also feel like they would be one of the last ones to go if Disney was really going to start doing away with Streamosphere, because I feel like they're everybody's favorites.
Yeah, they're pretty iconic.
They also did all of those Magic at Home videos too, which is pretty cool. Like Disney definitely knows that people love the Dapper Dans, but Disney has also known that people love a lot of the entertainment that they've done away with.
This is true.
So,
but hopefully it looks like we won't have to worry about it for a while, at least.
Yeah. I am interested to see how much this feels like a Halloween party. Like, I know it's kind of the little touches here and there that they're leaning into. But I'm kind of curious, like, when we start seeing these things pop up in the parks, like, is it going to look like it's Halloween every day, or is it just going to be normal park with slight Halloween touches? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
I feel like, at least as far as decoration, I feel like they would go all out like they normally do, because that's already there and that's not affected. So at least it'll hopefully look like Halloween. Maybe it won't necessarily feel so much like it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that will kind of take away from it feeling like spooky Halloween time is the fact that the parks are not open past dark.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
But other than that, I still feel like you can get a similar experience to what you would normally get, at least during the day.
Now, here's a question that I know is kind of, Disney would never do this. Let's say this is a big hit and they decide that every year they're going to start doing stuff like this. This is going to be the new normal. But they do a Halloween party in addition to this. does that devalue the Halloween party at all, or
Yes.
does that make it kind of more incentivized?
Yeah, I think it does a bit. I think that, you know, the big draw of paying extra to go to the Halloween party is that you're getting to see stuff that you wouldn't otherwise. You know, they would probably never do it, but I mean, like, even just if they did booty you during the day, I feel like that's one of people's favorite things about a Halloween party. And they might say, yeah, I'll just go during the day, get to do the vast majority of what I wanted to do at the party and not pay an extra, $90 to $120, whatever the price ended up being.
Yeah, especially the costumes.
Yeah, I think
feel
that
like
they
that's-
would lose a lot.
I think the costumes are like a huge reason that people do the party, especially adults in costumes. And the fact that they're allowing that is pretty crazy. And if you could do that every year, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think so too. I was generally curious, like, what you guys think is the line of like this stuff is going to stick around for the foreseeable future. And I think this is going to be the exceptional year, just because of everything going on. And I would be interested to see if any of this sticks around.
I bet it won't.
Yeah, I think another thing is that, Disney's going to want to be recouping a good bit of money as soon as all this is over with. So anything that they can do to draw people to pay extra for special events, I think they're going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speaking of pay extra, that's a nice segue into our next news topic, that soon you can craft your own lightsaber again inside Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It looks like beginning September 20th, they're going to be reopening Savvy's workshop, so you can come in and build your lightsabers again. Process is pretty much the same as it was before. So, yep.
I mean, think about it. You have Star Wars people who have had the entire quarantine to rewatch all the movies, read all the books, watch all the shows on Disney Plus. Like, they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of wondering how crowded Galaxy's Edge is going to be when they start opening all of that stuff back up. Because
this is really the only thing that has been closed in Galaxy's Edge, is it not?
Was Droid Depot still open? And like all of the other stores?
So I went into the store that's attached to Droid Depot, and I didn't think to look inside, but it was definitely open. I don't know if you could build your own still, or if you could just get a grab and go kind of thing. I think you could still build your own though.
I was kind of assuming a lot of these interactive things were going to be closed, more so because of like the touching element to them. But
yeah,
again, it's Florida, so not surprising.
I wonder if it'll be slower, like if they're gonna wipe everything down after each person, like if that will be more spaced out, if they'll have, because don't you have to get a reservation for that?
So you do. The reservations for that are going to start on September 16th for the 20th, but it looks like you can also stop and check for walk-up availability, according to this article. So I'm guessing they're anticipating it not being as crowded as it usually is.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if like they'll be doing fewer reservations so they have more time to clean.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That would make sense for sure. I also don't know how crowded it could possibly be with like the capacity that they're allowing currently. Like, what's the Venn diagram of people who want to build this $200 lightsaber and people who are going on a Disney trip during a pandemic? And, I don't know. I feel like it's not going to be as crowded as they think it will be.
So just based off of this article, there's two pictures in here that are like promo shots. But it also says, for those of it who have visited the shop in the past, you'll notice the experience will be slightly adjusted. For instance, capacity will be reduced to allow physical distancing between guests in accordance with the park's guidelines during its phased reopening. And the pictures that are under that, it looks like they're distancing about one space between every guest. So if you guys have actually like looked at the pictures of Inside Savvy's, I don't know how much you've tried to keep this whole thing spoiler free. there's sections where you can build your lightsaber, and it looks like they're actually keeping like one space apart from everyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like the capacity limitations alone are going to be enough that it'll bring it back up to a decent wait time, even if the Venn diagram of like people that are going now and would spend the money to build this is fairly small.
True.
So next news topic we have on here, kind of an amendum to last week's topic or news topic, is that Disney has announced the Christmas season details, which means no very Merry Christmas party. And people were very quick to call me out on this one.
Sucks to be wrong, doesn't it?
I just, at this point, I've assumed that if I make a prediction, it's probably wrong. But for those that do enjoy the holidays at Walt Disney World, it seems like we're going to be getting a very similar setup to the Halloween party from what we have so far. It looks like festive decor, themed merchandise, seasonal food and beverage offerings, and then entertainment, which could mean anything. According to this article, it says holiday magic will be in full force at all 4 theme parks in Disney Springs. So I would imagine some of the big Springs offerings will be back.
No, full force is an appropriate term.
Probably not full force, but I would imagine we're probably going to get something like not the Christmas tree trails, but a watered down version of that at Springs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the little things that they can feasibly do, I feel like are going to be the things that we're going to get.
Honestly, this is the time where I really wish I lived in driving distance like I used to, because God, I just really need a vacation, and this article is making me really depressed.
Oh.
But there's no way I could fly to Florida with Eli.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to make you more depressed, but I think that Christmas offerings actually sound a little bit better than the Halloween offerings in here.
That's because what we're used to with Halloween is very different than what we're used to with Christmas. So this is more similar to what we're used to. So I feel like it feels better.
Well, not even that. Like so it looks like they're expanding the offerings. The Halloween stuff, it mostly sticks to Magic Kingdom, right? Like we know that. But in this article, it also says guests will be delighted by the sight of festival flotas at Animal Kingdom, holiday promenades at Epcot, merry motorcades at Hollywood Studios, and character cavalcades at Magic Kingdom Park, which they're kind of doing them now, but I'm assuming that these are going to be Christmas themed.
Can I just say, I wish that I had been in the room when they were brainstorming all this marketing during the pandemic, because of all these terms that they came up with. Festive flotillas, holiday promenades, merry motorcades. It's like, wow, you guys really pulled out the thesaurus for this one, didn't you?
Yeah.
But it sounds really cute, and I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly it entails.
But here's the thing. We're getting nighttime offerings with Christmas, because at the next paragraph of this article is when the night falls, projection effects will give a festive look to Cinderella Castle this year, providing a backdrop for our guest photos. The appearance of the iconic castle will be transformed with a rotating series of designs, including a whimsical Christmas sweater and a regal overlay of red, green, and gold ornamentation. I'm so excited for Christmas Sweater Castle.
I'm really intrigued. I don't know if excited is the word I'd use, but I'm interested.
I
hope it's a tacky sweater. Yeah.
Here's the thing. We've talked about the birthday cake castle and how that wasn't a great thing because it ruined the whole like once in a lifetime, experience, because it was a physical overlay. Now that they have this projection mapping technology, I don't understand why they don't do more stuff like that.
Point.
Yeah,
like it doesn't really take anything away except for like that nighttime shot, and I don't know, this could be really cool.
Yeah,
I still don't think that just the projection can like fully create the effect of the birthday cake castle. Like I'm kind of sad that that's never something we'll see in our lifetime. Something like that.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
just I just think it just is like so great. Like it's so extra. I just can't. Like I would love to see something like that again, just for the sake of like the theatrics of it.
Totally agree with you. A lot of people I know hate on the birthday cake castle, and I mean, I honestly could totally understand if that was a once in a lifetime trip for me and I got that castle instead of like the castle. But people like us who go semi regularly, we want stuff like that because we want something different, you know?
Yeah.
But I also think, like I was saying, I think the projection mapping, while it might not do the perfect job of something like that, where it physically turns it into a cake, like it's cool enough that they could overlay the castle with these kind of things every so often, and it wouldn't take away. Like, imagine if they put up some kind of gold lighting on the castle that only turned on at night for the 50th. During the day, the castle would look exactly the same, but at night they turn on these lights that make it shine brighter and look a little bit more decorated, and you have that extra special experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I really agree. I think that they should utilize this more than they do.
And it can't be that like cost prohibitive. I mean, they have to already have the software rigged up where they can just add extra colors to different areas of the castle pretty easily by now.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about any of the other holiday things in here? Because there's a lot. I don't know if you guys want to go over the rest of them or if we just want to move on to the next topic of news.
Intrigued by Jock Lindsay's holiday bar. I want to see more about that, and I'm really excited to figure out what exactly that entails.
The other like big thing on here that I was kind of interested in too is the Hollywood and Vine mini Yuletide gathering thing. It kind of reads like a character dining. But I didn't think we were allowed. Yeah, I didn't think they were allowed to do that though. So I'm interested to see if that's what it is, and if that just means that they're hoping things will be better by Christmas.
Well, also I've seen that they still have a character dining experience going on at the Riviera, if I recall correctly. But the characters don't come and stop at every table. They just walk around several times. And they just don't they might stop socially distant from the table so you can snap like a quick picture, but they don't actually like meet and greet like a normal character dining experience would. So maybe that's what they'll do here, as at least the worst case scenario. Maybe they're hoping that it'll be good enough to have like a regular character greeting, but if it's not, then they'll just do that.
Huh. I did not know that they were doing that.
I'm also excited to see that the hotels are still going to be having their Christmas trees.
Yeah, that's nice that the hotels are keeping some of the Christmas spirit around for this year, especially when it doesn't feel quite like Christmas.
I mean, that's like the least they can do, right? Is put up a tree.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I'm hoping, because some of them do really go all out for the holidays, and I know they probably won't do. Yeah, okay. This article says one thing to keep in mind is that the gingerbread displays won't return this year, but like
that's kind of a bummer. But it makes sense because especially the one at the Grand Flow draws a crazy crowd.
Right. But my next thing that I was gonna go to is like Wilderness Lodge puts up a lot of decorations for Christmas. I wonder if they're gonna go like that all out for it. I can't imagine they won't. But
the other thing is also right now, I can't speak for the future, obviously, but you can't go to a resort and just walk around like you used to be able to. You have to either have a dining reservation or be staying there or be like picking somebody up or something. Like you have to have a reason to be there other than I just want to walk around and look at stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's very true.
I guess that if they're still doing that, then
did they stop you?
It'll be easy for them to maintain
at the door. Like, did you try to go to a resort and they didn't let you?
I did not try to go to a resort, but my best friend came to ride to the parks with me a couple of times while I was there. And one time he just said, "Hey, I'm here to pick up Beth," and they just let him through. They didn't even look up the reservation. Then another time he said the same thing, and they like actually stopped him and like looked up my reservation and like confirmed that I was staying there and he was allowed to be there, kind of thing. So I guess, your mileage may vary, but
I wonder if you just like try to, like, if you walk, to the Contemporary or something, or like if you take a bus from Disney Springs.
probably wouldn't stop you then. I guess it's mostly just going to be if you're driving.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess, the other thing is that a lot of people aren't going to want to take the time to, because if they're staying at a different resort, like let's say they want to go look at Wilderness Lodge and they're staying at Pop Century, they would have to take the bus from Pop to a park, or if they're at a park, take the bus from the park to Wilderness Lodge, and then to get back, they would have to take it to Disney Springs or a park, and then take a bus from there to their resort. So it just adds like an extra step that I feel like a lot of people probably aren't going to be super stoked to add into their vacation, probably.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I guess if I were at Magic Kingdom, it would be worth it to go check out like Grand, but that's it.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was there, and I'll obviously touch on this a little bit more in detail later, when I was at Magic Kingdom, I just rode the monorail from Magic to the Polynesian, and they didn't stop me because I was on the monorail. But if I was driving, I'm sure it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
So I guess there are ways to get around it for sure.
So, real quick, before we talk about this next thing, I just switched the news topics up in here because the other one was just a showcase of the virtual runners. I found this one earlier this week, and this was pretty interesting. I meant to throw this in here. I don't know if we want to talk about it or not, because it's not really anything major, but it's definitely something interesting to talk about.
We can, but before we move away from the holiday thing, I just want to express how excited I was to hear that the Voices of Liberty will be coming to the America Gardens Theater.
Yes.
So I just wanted to give them a shout out because I absolutely love the Voices of Liberty.
I'm just happy that they're not cutting that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kirsten said about the Dapper Dans, like I think the Voices of Liberty may go before the Dapper Dans do, but I'm glad that they're giving them more of a role in the parks right now.
So why don't you take us over this last topic since you threw it at us at the last minute?
It's kind of an interesting one here. The headline of the article is Disney World files debt against Morocco Pavilion restaurants at Epcot amidst financial hardships. So it's kind of misleading because apparently last week, the Disney parks took legal action to protect a debt that Marrakesh Moroccan restaurant has to the company, which according to this article just basically means that the restaurant faced some hardships during the whole coronavirus thing. And apparently Disney has kind of put this document in place that acts almost as a loan to help the company recoup their losses, but uses the restaurant as like a collateral. If I'm reading that correctly, it's very interesting, and it definitely shows that there are some hardships that have been faced through this whole coronavirus thing, especially for some of the restaurants.
I mean, it makes
Interesting.
sense, and I guess that's better than. I mean, they don't really have a lot of options, right? What are they going to do? Kick them out and then have to put something else there and face even more expense,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I'm
curious
just
to how
surprised that we're
goes.
not seeing this. Yeah, well, that's one big thing, but I'm also surprised that we're only seeing it for this one restaurant. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, most of the other ones in Epcot are owned by Disney, right? I mean, I assumed that this was different since Morocco was kind of like financed by the Moroccan government. And so I figured they had a different deal like a different
That
setup
could be
than
it.
say Le Cellier or whatever.
That could be. I think some of them aren't necessarily Disney owned restaurants, because I know back when they started laying people off, there was a whole dispute with the employees at San Angel, I think it was, and that like how they were being treated when the company decided to lay them off. And it didn't directly go through Disney. So I don't know. I mean, it could very well be that it's just who the debt is owed to and how much they want them to perform in light of things
Oh,
opening
God.
again.
Now I'm curious to know what restaurants are owned by Disney. I'm gonna start looking this up.
Yeah, we'll have to dig into that. I know the Mexico Pavilion, I think, is the only one I know for sure definitely isn't, besides Morocco.
Yeah. I know that the department store in Japan is also not owned by Disney because it's like
Isn't it
an
like a
actual
chain?
department store in Japan. Yeah. But I don't know about the restaurants.
Well, that's the last of our news for this week. We do have some housekeeping to go over before we let Beth take over this week. So first things first, I think actually maybe Beth should introduce these, since they are both about Patreon, and that is kind of your
My
child.
wheelhouse. Yeah, sure. So we did just want to give a shout out to 3 new patrons. That's really exciting that we got 3 new patrons in the last week or so. David, Anna, and Carly. So welcome to the Patreon family. We're excited to have you. And don't know if this is why these characters signed up, but we also wanted to plug our Patreon because we're going to be having a game night episode in the coming weeks. And one of the perks of being one of our patrons is that you'll be put into a little drawing and potentially get to be a guest on the game night episode. So if you sign up for our Patreon, your name will essentially go into a hat and we'll draw one out and see who's available to come and help us guest host our game night episode. So that should be really fun.
Definitely.
Very excited for that. So with that said, again, going to turn it over to Beth to give us the trip report from this last week. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. I know we got the initial trip report from Brian. I want to know how much has changed since then.
I want to know too. So I've been excited about you doing this.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions or want me to clarify anything specific. But I kind of just put together a little almost itinerary of how my trip went down. So I started my trip off heading out from home at about 8:30 in the morning, which any of you guys out there that know me well know that that was a feat in and of itself, being awake and out the door that early. But I wanted to get there early enough to enjoy actually getting to go inside of a park on the day that I got there. So, of course, I had to stop for Wawa once I got close enough. But
Hey.
But I got to property around 3:30 and I checked into Pop Century where I was staying for the first 2 nights. I had a little bit of a split stay and did a little bit of unpacking, and then I headed to the Skyliner to ride it to Epcot. And this was the first time I'd stayed at Pop since the Skyliner opened, so that was really cool and definitely something I would recommend if you're planning on going to Epcot and Hollywood Studios a lot. It was super convenient, and right now they're only doing 1 party per car, so your party will be the only one in the Skyliner with you, which right now is awesome.
So it's like the perfect situation for Skyliner.
Yeah, definitely. So because I was not trying to get to Epcot like right when it opened, I don't know if it was maybe like your mileage may vary depending on when you get to the Skyliner, but the wait was super short. It was pretty much I just walked up and hopped on. You do have to transfer at Caribbean Beach, so keep that in mind. But the whole thing from me getting on at Pop to getting off at the Epcot International Gateway was, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes total, but it really didn't feel very long. And even though it was really hot outside, as long as the Skyliner was moving, was very breezy in the car, so it was not. You couldn't really notice that there was no air conditioning. I know that's a big thing that a lot of people who haven't ridden the Skyliner yet wonder about, is if it gets really hot. But when it stops, like if they have to load somebody that's in like an ECV or something, if it stops for a second, it gets a little stuffy. But then once it starts moving again, it's totally fine. So got to Epcot, and at the International Gateway specifically, they have the contactless body scanners, which they also have at Hollywood Studios now and Animal Kingdom. So I didn't have to take anything out of my bag. I didn't have to even open my bag or show them anything. They just said to, if I had an umbrella, to hold it out directly in front of me, like outstretch my arm, walk through with everything else in my bag. And I did, and just walked right in. It was really cool. So that's another really cool thing that they've added to reduce contact during the pandemic. And I'm assuming since they spend all the money on this technology that it'll stick around. So I'm really excited about that in the future as well, not having to have someone dig through my bag every time I go into a park.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll speed things up a good bit too.
Yeah, definitely. So, but I will say that Epcot was the only time that they said, like, if you have an umbrella or anything that's like a really metallic, take it out and hold it in front of you. They didn't do that in any of the other parks. And I'll get to that a little bit later. But just as a tip, even if they don't tell you to do it, just go ahead and do it, because they might pull you aside and need to look in your bag otherwise if they can't figure out what the metal in your bag is. So, because it was a Sunday, Epcot was a little bit busier than I was hoping, but assuming, like I said, it was a Sunday, so it was still the weekend. I'm assuming there were still locals there, but honestly, it was still probably the least busy I've seen Epcot in years, so I was not going to complain about it at all. It was really only kind of busy on the main walkways and stuff. It was super easy to find a secluded spot to step aside to eat and drink. And I know probably most of the people listening already know this, but with the mask policy going on right now, you have to be stationary to be able to take your mask off to eat or drink. So no more walking around and eating and drinking while you're walking. So I preferred to just go ahead and stop to the side and eat the whole thing or drink the whole thing, rather than take a sip, stop to the side, like keep walking and then stop to the side, take a sip, keep walking, stop to the side over and over again. But you can do that in theory. Probably would have, I don't know, been an easier thing to do, but I was there by myself at this point, so I wasn't in any rush to go run from one place to another. And because I was there by myself, I decided to do something that I had never done, which was go see Canada Far and Wide. And it was fine.
It was fine. Such glowing praise for Canada Far and Wide.
It was okay. I don't know if I would recommend spending the time on it unless you just want to check it off your bucket list of Disney attractions. I honestly couldn't even really enjoy it that much because it made me really nauseous. The circle vision movement, I don't know if I'm sure it's just like a motion sickness thing, because I do get a touch of motion sickness from time to time. I had the same thing happen to me back in February when we did Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, because it has like a circle vision kind of screens in the theater. But keep that in mind if you're planning on doing that. But it was a nice little, I don't know, get out of the heat for a little while. You do stand the whole time, which I didn't realize. There's lean rails, they called them, that you can lean against, but it's not really so much of a break as it would be to go see something that you're in a theater that you actually get to sit down in. But because I was feeling kind of nauseous and I'd already had like a super long day, the glory of being an annual pass holder, I decided to just go back to my resort. But wasn't going to let the Disney magic stop quite yet, because Happily Ever After was running on a loop on channel 74 on the resort TV. So I watched that about 3 times. And I thought that Must Do Disney wasn't running, which I know I talked about this a little bit in the Discord, but I thought Must Do Disney wasn't running because it's normally on like channel 4 or something. And it was just a bunch of random advertisements for Disney Plus TV shows and movies. And I was like, this. I don't love Stacy by any means, but I missed her. And I really had this appreciation for her with her not being there. But after I was watching Happily Ever After again, I happened to find that Must Do Disney was on channel 73, which is really weird, which it said it was like the Spanish version, but it wasn't in Spanish. So little tip out there, if anybody is dying to watch Must Do Disney at their resort and they can't find it, switch it over to channel 73.
Funny enough, you're not the only person I saw complaining about that, which is weird because I feel like not a lot of people talk about Must Do Disney.
I just feel like it's so like I'm at a Disney resort and that's why I love it. I pretty much always have it running whenever I'm in the room and not watching something else actively. Like if I'm getting ready to go, like doing my makeup or whatever, I just have it on in the background just because it's, I don't know, it's like a feel-good sign of me being at Disney World, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like it also helps that that's probably like always the first thing that's on the TV when I turn it on. So like it kind of by default always gets put on. So
yeah, true. But I did hang out with my best friend Joshua, who lives down there, a little bit afterwards. He came and picked me up, and we just went and had a drink somewhere. And then I came back and kind of called it an early night so that I could enjoy the parks the next day without being super exhausted. So Monday, I woke up and went to the My Disney Experience app and realized that there were no bus wait times. So that's another thing that they're not doing right now, which is kind of annoying. Because normally I would check to see like, oh, when's the bus to Magic Kingdom coming next? And if it's going to be in 5 minutes, you know, I'm like, oh, let me go ahead and run out the door. But if it's going to be in 20 minutes, it's like, okay, well, I'll just hang out here for a little bit longer before I leave. But unfortunately, they're not doing that right now. But I figured this out not only by obviously not being able to find it, but they have this little feature on the My Disney Experience app where you can message a cast member now, like text message basically, or instant message.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really cool feature because I sent a message and I was like, hey, I don't see any bus wait times on the app. Are you guys not doing that right now? And they told me that they weren't available right now. So I didn't have to wonder if it had moved somewhere or if I just couldn't find it or whatever. But yeah, that was really cool to be able to have that at the ready to be able to kind of text a cast member. You can also do it for if you need like extra towels or your shampoo bottle ran out or whatever is wrong with your room. Instead of having to go to the front desk, you can do that as well. So that's a thing that I hope they keep around.
Nice.
But I did decide to go to Magic Kingdom that day, which it was crazy empty for the most part, which was wild. I don't know if you guys saw my stories that I was posting throughout the trip, but I had this one where I was standing right beside the castle and I just panned around and it was just almost post-apocalyptic. Like once you get past that, it's really enjoyable, but it was hard to kind of swallow at first.
It was freaky.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. I feel like a lot of people have been having this argument of, is the magic still there? Is it still magical to go to Disney World? And obviously Magic Kingdom being the Disney World park, that I feel like it was the most present there, the feeling of absence, you know?
Yeah.
Which I thought I was going to absolutely love it. And I did for the most part. But it was also kind of weird at the same time. But I did catch a character cavalcade with Rabbit, Piglet, and Eeyore. It was very cute. They were on like a little trolley riding down Main Street, waving at people. They were also hanging out on the porch of the Crystal Palace for when I walked by later, which was cute. And I saw Chip and Dale hanging out on a balcony in Frontierland. So I really like those little character interactions that they're doing right now. I think those are super cute, and I hope that that sticks around even when character meet and greets and parades and stuff like that come back, because I think that's a point that Joshua and I made on our Epcot day. Was we just happened upon a cavalcade and we were like, wow, that was so cool. That was like a quote unquote magical moment. And I feel like those are a lot harder to come by during regular Disney time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it will be feasible for them to keep stuff like that around once the regular crowds are back, but I think it added a lot because it was something unexpected, something that you didn't stand in line for or see like, oh, it's 3:00. Let me go stand on the, curbside for the parade, whatever. But I stayed at Magic Kingdom for about 5 hours. And during that time, I did Peter Pan's Flight, which was a walk-on. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which I waited maybe 15, 20 minutes for. Haunted Mansion, which was a walk-on. Tiki Room, just had to wait until the next showing. Big Thunder was pretty much a walk-on. I think it may have been like a 10-minute wait. Country Bear Jamboree. I actually did Hall of Presidents because I never do Hall of Presidents. And one of the things that was one of the goals for this trip was to do things I don't normally do or haven't done in a while or have never done. So I decided to do that, and I'm not going to get political, but the animatronic does not look great in person.
No, it doesn't.
And then I also rode Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin 3 times in a row because it was a walk-on every time. And I wanted really, really hard to get the max score. And I tried, but I only got up to like 750,000 before my hands started hurting. And I decided to call it a day. But that's the highest score I've ever gotten. And I will admit that I did Google how to get a high score on Buzz Lightyear. After the first time, I just tried it on my own. Second time, I looked it up, and that's when I got like the really high score, like the highest score I've gotten, the 750,000 something. And then the third time, I was like, all right, I got it this time. And I just felt like I couldn't control my car the way that I wanted to while shooting. I really feel like it's a 2-person job, you need someone to steer the...
Yeah.
You need someone to steer the car while you shoot. Because it was hard to keep it steady. Because I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but if you stop turning it, it starts to like slowly lean to the side. Yep. And I'm just like, you're trying to set me up for failure here. But anyway, maybe one day I'll be a galactic hero. But I did have, before I went to go see Tiki Room, I had the Kakamora float, which is at Aloha Isle right now. It was absolutely incredible, and I would highly recommend it. It is coconut soft serve with lime juice and blue curacao, and it comes with this really cute little cake pop that looks like a Kakamora from Moana.
That's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun offering.
Your trip, but did you happen to notice if they had a pina colada Dole Whip? Because I saw that they had them at Disney Springs.
I did not. But because they have coconut soft serve and pineapple soft serve, I'm assuming you could essentially do that, right? That's basically what a pina colada is.
Well, I guess they wouldn't put... They were actually using like coconut
alcohol.
So yeah, I guess they wouldn't do that at Magic Kingdom.
Oh yeah. Oh, that sounds really good though. I'd love to try it. But I finished off my Magic Kingdom day with a little early dinner at Cosmic Rays to hang out with our friend Sunny Eclipse. So that was really fun. It was pretty empty. You had to have a mobile order to even step inside the building. So that's another big change that's happening right now. And I think that's how it is at most of the restaurants that, well, at least the ones that offer mobile order. There's a cast member standing in front and you have to show them like, hey, I have a mobile order and it's ready or it's about to be ready. And in my case, mine was about to be ready. So they let me go ahead in and they're like, go stand on the dot that says number 7. And then when your order is ready, it'll tell you what window to go to or whatever. Obviously no condiment bars right now either. So if you need any condiments, I think you have to put it in your mobile order, or I guess you could probably ask the cast member when you pick up your food. But other than that, it was really empty in there, and I got a table right beside Sunny Eclipse, and I sat there for a little while I ate my food, and that was really nice. It was also kind of eerily quiet, so I could hear Sunny Eclipse really, really well, which was nice and weird. But the last thing I will say about the park itself was that I was not a fan of the colors of the castle in person, which sucks because I really wanted to like them. I really thought I'm going to see it in person and I'm going to feel totally different about it than I did about all the pictures of it. But I just feel like it's too contrasting, and hopefully the Florida sun will make that less of a problem soon. But right now, it just looks too cheesy to me.
Definitely agree.
You know, it's funny. You two are the first people I've heard that have actually said that.
Really?
I think everyone that I've heard has said I went in expecting not to like it, and I really enjoyed it.
I really wanted to like it, but it just, I don't know. And maybe this is a dumb thing to say, but it just looks really cartoony.
Yep.
I don't know why they didn't just make the whole thing gold. It's the 50th. Go all out.
Mm-hmm. Or at least like more gold. The gold is just really accents. It's just like a here and there.
So I'm like probably biased.
It's weird. I don't mind the gold trim so much. It's the blue that I don't like. It's too metallic-y.
I think my issue is the blue and pink together. Like if they had done just the blue and then had not like the, I don't know, it's like not Pepto-Bismol pink, but it's like in the same vein. But if they had done just the blue and something else, or just the pink and something else with the gold trim, I feel like it could have felt very different, but I was not a huge fan. So maybe once it fades, I'll like it more. We'll see. But I decided to head out from Magic Kingdom, and I had read online that they were doing tours of DVC rooms, which is unusual because apparently what they normally do is have model rooms at a DVC like showroom center. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that.
No.
My cat's food is coming out.
As someone that has done the DVC tour, that is exactly what they do. There's model rooms in, oh my gosh, I can't remember which resort it is. I think it's Saratoga Springs.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I've never been, but that's what I've heard.
Well, so what you do for the regular DVC tour, not to derail your trip to report here, is you go to the hotel, you check in, you watch a video with like a group of other people, and then they split you off and you go into model rooms of, I think they have the Polynesian, the ones that we toured were the Polynesian. They always have the newest resort, which for us was the Riviera. And then there was 2 more, I think, that we went in. One of them was Alani. So they like let you see all of the actual, like what the room should look like. But when you mentioned this, I was very surprised about that because that's really cool.
Yeah. So I had read about it online and I thought, you know what? Why not? I'm here by myself and there's no one to stop me, essentially, was my thought process. And I've always wanted to go inside one of the Polynesian bungalows, even if I don't know if I'll ever get to stay there. At least now I can say that I've been inside one. Because
Wait, they let you go inside a bungalow? I missed this part.
Oh, yeah. I talked about it a little bit on the Discord, but yeah, so one of the things that they were offering was a bungalow tour. I was like, yes, I will. And so I think with most of them, what you do is you just walk up to the room number. Well, technically what it said on the website is if you're staying at the resort, it was like an open house from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. or something, and you could just walk up to room number 4402 or whatever it was for that resort. And then if you weren't staying at that particular resort, you were supposed to call and see about availability. When I tried to call the number, it was like, it said it was after hours, but it was only like 4:30 or something. I was like, well, I'm just going to show up and see what happens. So I went to the Polynesian and I went to the little DVC desk and I asked about it, and guy was very nice and walked me all the way there from the lobby. And it was actually kind of a trek. So I will say that's one thing about the bungalows, is that it's a pro and a con is the privacy of it. It's kind of far away from the main stuff, but it's also kind of a pro in the sense that it's far away from the main stuff. But man, I would still really love to stay here. I'm going to get to it later. I also toured something else that I feel like I'd almost rather stay in now. But
Ooh.
the bungalow was really cool. Of course, they toured. The tour was in the one that's like closest to the ferry ramp, which is, I know Kirsten loves the idea of that. But a couple of cool features about it. The bathroom has a TV built into the mirror.
Dang.
Which is apparently a thing in a lot of these expensive DVC.
The Grand has.
That's what I was just about to say, is I've seen them in a couple of the DVC resorts, and it's kind of cool, but a weird luxury to have.
It is a weird luxury. I feel like I could imagine enjoying it from like the bathtub maybe. But the joke that my tour guide made, because you could see the TV from the toilet, was you could watch the Super Bowl on the Super Bowl.
So bad, but so good.
I would be like, I'm not buying anything from you now.
I think that would have been an instant purchase for me.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cute. But the main bathroom had this bathtub that had, I don't remember what the technical term was, but it was essentially jacuzzi style, but it was champagne style jacuzzi jets, which came up. There's like a lot of tiny little bubbles from the bottom, which it's hard to explain, but it sounded really cool. Apparently it's like a thing with not having stagnant bath water and whatever. It's really, I don't know.
Yeah, because jacuzzi jets get really, really nasty. And you have to,
the poly bungalow, was that?
Jacuzzi jets get really, really nasty if you don't run them all the time. So like if nobody's run that jacuzzi in a month and you went to run it, it would be like have dirt and all kinds of gross stuff in it. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's what he meant because of the different style of bubbles. Yeah. But the bungalow itself sleeps 8, and they let you see the whole thing. Like, I think it had the like 2 bedrooms, and then there was like a fold down bed in both bedrooms, and then there was like a pull out couch and a fold down, like one of those day bed fold down type of things in the living room. Obviously, the coolest part being that when fireworks do start back, you have this little, it's not a hot tub because he said it only gets into like the 90s. It doesn't get as hot as an actual jacuzzi tub would, but it's this hot tub sized little pool on your deck, and they pipe in the music from the fireworks show at Magic Kingdom. And they have it on a slight delay so that it actually is synchronized from where you're watching, which I thought was really cool.
That is such a cool perk, but I also feel like it's not super private because you can see most of them from like the ferry or the beach.
This is true. So obviously it's not like you could be naked in it or something, but I think it'd be still a really cool thing to experience. Big downside being that he said it would be roughly $27,000 for a week there.
You know, I kind of thought it would be more, but that's still a lot.
Yeah. And,
at that point,
you know, obviously this is not a place that you stay if you're planning on doing the parks a lot. This is a place that you stay and you stay there. Like, you're in it because why are you paying that much money for all these amenities if you're just going to be going out to the parks all day?
Yeah, I feel like I would start counting down like how much I was paying per minute and just be like, I have to stay here. I can't leave. I gotta get my money first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you have the money to stay there, you don't ever worry about stuff like that, though.
That's probably true. But I feel like I would like to stay there maybe a night or two, but literally just stay there and then, I don't know, go to Pop Century and stay for the rest of the time and make up the money that I spent somehow. But the other DVC unit that I actually toured 2 more, but they were at the same resort. I went over to the Grand Floridian to tour their 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom villas. And holy cow. The 3-bedroom, like I said, the Polynesian bungalow, he said would be about $27,000 for a week. I asked him what the comparison was, and he said he wasn't sure of the exact amount, but it was definitely more for the 3-bedroom at the Grand Flo, which definitely makes sense because this place was absolutely like gorgeous, luxury looking place. It was so beautiful.
Because we're staying at the Grand DVC for next October, and I feel like the villa, like we were considering, like the Grand, and I didn't think it was that expensive. I'm gonna have to look up the point cost again for renting it, because.
Well, this is the 3-bedroom. Is that what you were talking about?
The Grand Villa, because
Man.
it's 2-bedroom then Grand Villa. But maybe that's were the prices he gave you, were they from like if you actually just rented it through Disney, like a regular hotel room, or was it like if you paid for the points?
I think he's saying if you paid for the points through Disney.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. But the 3-bedroom is, I want to say it was like 2,400 square feet or something like that. And when he told me that, I was like, that's bigger than where I live. That's like twice as big as my apartment. And it sleeps 14 people. So I guess if you broke it down, maybe it would be affordable. But also TVs in the mirrors in the bathrooms there. They had this absolutely beautiful master bath that had the champagne style bubbles as well. I'll have to send you guys these pictures because I took a ton of them. But it had like a living room with a dining room table that seated like 14 people. It had a media room. Literally the whole purpose of the room was it had a sectional couch and a TV. And the whole point of the room was just, I'm just going to sit in here and watch TV. Which, for a hotel room, that's wild to me. But it had a lot of really beautiful features. I unfortunately saw the 2-bedroom after I saw the 3-bedroom, so it was not quite as impressive after seeing the 3-bedroom, but it was still really nice as well. And I feel like I kind of want to stay there now more than I want to stay in a bungalow. But also kind of feel like I'm not classy
I feel that way
enough
just stepping
at the
into
same
the
time.
Yes,
Floridian.
you are. All of y'all are classy enough.
But after that, I thought about going to some other ones because they had several others that were available to tour. But I was tired. I decided to go back to the hotel for a swim. So I did that instead. And also had to go to bed at a decent time because Tuesday was my rope drop Hollywood Studios day, which I would not recommend rope dropping any of the parks except for Hollywood Studios because there's really no reason. I got everything that pretty much done that I wanted to get done in about 5 hours at each park. So Hollywood Studios, the only reason you want to rope drop is if you're wanting to try and get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance, which obviously I was. So I was also checking out this day because I was moving to Animal Kingdom Lodge from Pop Century, which was a huge upgrade, and I'll talk more about that later. But packed up all my stuff and loaded it into the car. Got to Hollywood Studios at about 9:10 in the morning for a 10 a.m. opening. And they started letting everybody through pretty shortly after I got to the gate and was parked, went through security, and inside the park at about 9:40. So I went ahead and got in line for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and while I was in line, got a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance, which I would recommend that approach to anybody who's planning on doing it, because I was off of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway by 10:10 because they started letting people on before the park actually opened. And so it wasn't like I was wasting my time trying to get a boarding group. I was already in the line, moving through it. I went to Galaxy's Edge to have a blue milk. Yes, I did have the alcoholic one at 10 in the morning. Don't judge me.
You completely glossed over the fact that you went to Runaway Railway.
Oh, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
You mentioned it, but
I did, didn't I?
I was waiting for the review.
Sorry. Oh my god, it was super duper cute. Apparently there's a pre-show that's not running right now, so I can't speak to that, but the attraction itself was absolutely adorable. And because it has the trackless system, I love the trackless system because you don't know what to expect. And I liked the art style a lot more than I was expecting. I still don't like the grungy, goofy look, but that's really my only complaint. The ride was super fun and entertaining. It had cool special effects. It was really fun. I don't want to say a whole lot because I don't want to spoil it, because I know a lot of people haven't gotten to ride it yet. I hadn't. This was my first time. But it was an absolute delight, and I would highly recommend it. It was kind of weird, though. In the back of my mind, I felt like I was trying to figure out where I was on the Great Movie Ride at the same time, but I couldn't really figure it out. They did a really good job transforming the space, and because of the special effects that they have, it like transforms the room that you're in multiple times to different scenes sometimes, which was really cool. So I don't want to say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but it was really, really cute, and I would highly recommend it. But yes, so after that, I headed to Galaxy's Edge. I've heard that this is not the best plan to go straight like there early in the morning because that's what everybody's doing, but I did it anyway. And it really wasn't bad. But like I said, I did have a blue milk, and they are requiring mobile orders for this. They will not let you get in line. So keep that in mind. And while I was drinking it, I went ahead and got in line for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. The wait was probably like half an hour, which, like I said, it was the first thing in the morning, and that's where everybody went. So I'm sure it would be much shorter if I had waited a little bit longer and gone and done something else. But this is an attraction that is one party per vehicle. So I got to pilot it all by myself, which was interesting. I will say it was a lot more fun being the pilot. It is true. I felt like I was actually doing stuff, and that like the actions I was taking were having an impact on the attraction itself. I assumed that all of the other seats kind of went into an autopilot type of mode because I ended up smuggling 2 containers of coaxium, which I don't know if that's like amazing or anything, but for me, this being my second time and my first time piloting it and being completely by myself, I feel like was pretty good, but I probably had a lot of help from autopilot seats. I overheard a family walking out around the same time as me saying, "Yeah, we smuggled 1 container of coaxium." And I was just like, I smuggled 2 all by myself. But it was fun, and I hate to admit it, but it's absolutely true that the pilot position was much more fun than at least the gunner position, which I was in last time. I still maintain that it's not the best attraction when you when the attraction is only really fun for a third of the participants, I don't think that design is super effective. But what can you do? So, keeping in my Star Wars theme, I decided to have lunch at Docking Bay 7. I had their vegetarian meal, which was the Felucian kefta and hummus garden spread. It was delicious and honestly one of the most flavorful meals I think I've ever had on property. So vegetarians and non-vegetarians, honestly, I would highly recommend that dish. It was very, very good, very flavorful and tasty. And then I went to Star Tours to finish off my Star Wars kind of roundabout. And that was a walk-on. There were only like 6 other people in the vehicle with me. And I think it seats like 40. I was the Rebel Spy, which was kind of cool. I feel like if anybody out there has wanted to be the Rebel Spy, now is your time because you have a very much higher chance of getting to be it. And then I went to Walt Disney Presents and looked at all of those little exhibits and displays because I love those and like reading about the history stuff. They are not playing the film for Walt Disney right now, but because they had a Mulan sneak peek. I thought that maybe they would do both, but the sneak peek for Mulan was actually pretty long, so I guess that's why they're not doing both right now. I will say that the sneak peek for Mulan actually looked really good. I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to. I'm still not going to pay $30 for it, but I'm excited to watch it on December 4th when it's included in my Disney Plus subscription. After that, I headed over to Slinky Dog, and that was probably a 15 or 20 minute wait. Slinky was more fun than I remembered it to be. I didn't remember it being super fun last time, but I was also in the very front row, so I don't know if it felt like I felt it more being in the front or if I felt it less being in the front. Something about it just made it feel more fun. Maybe it was just the fact that I was at Disney World at all. But I also rode Alien Swirling Saucers for the first time because that was pretty much a walk-on. And I thought that it had some fun parts to it, but it was kind of disappointing in how short it was. I remember stopping, and I was like, wait, that's it? It's over? And also the way that the vehicles switch from track to track is so jarring.
No,
I don't know if
but
you guys have ridden
that
that
too.
yet. Yeah, I thought the concept was really cool. Essentially, there's 3 different platforms, and your vehicle moves from platform to platform because the front wheel will slide into a groove and transfer you over. And the spinning part, which is swirling, is kind of a misnomer because you don't actually go really around. It just swings you from side to side while you're spinning on this platform. But yeah, the transition from platform to platform was really clunky. I could feel it really heavily. I feel like if they fixed that, it would have been a lot more enjoyable. But overall, it was cute. The music being the kind of arcade, I don't know, polyphonic sounding Toy Story tunes was cute. But definitely not something I would wait more than 10 minutes or so for.
That soundtrack is really good. There's a
I did
version
enjoy
of
that a lot.
When Somebody Loved Me that's on there that has no right to be as good as
Why
it
would
is.
they go with that song for that attraction?
I promise you,
I know.
it's a lot better than it sounds because it's obviously the sad song from Toy Story 2, but very upbeat and happy. And like Beth said, it sounds straight out of a video game.
Yeah. But after I headed out from Toy Story Land, I wanted to end my day by doing Tower of Terror, which had 10-minute wait maybe. And there were literally 4 other people in the vehicle with me, which I think it seats like 21 or something
That right
like
there
that.
makes it like worth a trip.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, like how all of the vehicles, I just was completely by myself. Like I wasn't smushed up next to a stranger. It was honestly ideal. But that was the last thing I had on my list that I really, really wanted to do. So I decided to head out and happened to catch the Incredibles character cavalcade on my way out. It was really cute. I took a little video on, I Snapchat, or not Snapchat, I put a lot of this on Instagram stories. And this one was kind of fun because Mr. Incredible could tell that I was taking a video. So he like stopped directly in front of me and like did a pose and like kind of a point and wave kind of thing directly at me, which was cute. And yeah, so by that point, my room at Animal Kingdom Lodge was ready. And so I went straight to my room via the express check-in and was very happy to discover that I had been given a Savannah view as I requested and saw several animals
before you go into
right
any
off the
of
bat.
the stuff about your hotel, I know a couple people on the Discord were asking about your room transfer and how much of a transition that was. If you want to take a minute to talk about that, I would be very interested to know how that went too.
Yeah, definitely. So I've actually had a split stay a couple of times now. The first time I did a split stay, I stayed one night at Pop Century and then moved over to Port Orleans Riverside. And I did I don't know what the like actual term for it is, but basically you like put these tags on your luggage and leave them in the room. And then you just leave and you just go to wherever you're going. And the idea is that the bell services come and take it and then take it over to the resort that you're moving to and deliver it to your room. What I did not know, and I don't know if this is changed since then, I think that this is how it is right now, at least. I don't know if it's, before coronavirus, if it was any different, but you have to be in your room to accept the luggage. So it's not like Magical Express, from what I've heard. It's like you just walk in your room and your luggage is there. Is that right? Yeah, so it's not like that, or at least it wasn't for me. We had to wait in the room for the guy to come bring the luggage. And that ended up eating in a lot of our time because, I don't know, it like got lost or something. But we ended up sitting in the room for like an hour and a half just to wait on the luggage to be delivered when they said that it was going to be delivered an hour and a half before or whatever. Like they gave us a time frame. Ended up kind of being a disaster and wasting a lot of time. So everyone else's experience may be different from that. Your mileage may vary, but the theory is that the bell services will take your luggage from one to another if you request it. I did not do that this time. 1, because of the experience I had last time. 2, because coronavirus is happening and I wanted strangers to be handling my luggage the least amount possible. So I packed up all of my own stuff and put it into my car because I was driving and just drove to Hollywood Studios with it all in my car. And then when I left Hollywood Studios, I went to Animal Kingdom Lodge and just brought it all up by myself. I would not recommend this to the weak of heart going to a resort by yourself because it was kind of a feat to get everything as one person because I had brought, and I'm also an overpacker, chronic overpacker, so that's also partially my fault. But other than that, the express check-in made it really easy to go from one resort to another. And if you're multiple people carrying your luggage, then it's probably not as much of an issue as I had trying to drag my 16 bags that I had. But yeah, I would overall recommend a split stay because it's a nice way to experience multiple resorts. It's cool to have different modes of transportation. Like I said, with the Skyliner, it was cool to have that at Pop. Animal Kingdom Lodge, that was the reservation I had originally, so Pop was an add-on that I had found on Hotwire Hot Deals, which is another little tip. I know I talked about that a little bit on Patreon post show, but you can get Disney resorts on the Hotwire Hot Deals, which are their mystery deals where they don't tell you what the resort actually is until after you book it. And that's how they're supposedly able to offer it to you super duper cheap. So I ended up getting popped for like $79 a night.
That's a good deal.
But that was just because I wanted to stay a couple of days extra. Yeah, so you can get some really good deals if you're willing to put in the research. You know, there are a few things you can do to figure out on Hotwire Hot Deals that it's a Disney resort. If you want my secret sneaky tips, you're going to have to listen to our Patreon post show for that. But yeah, so if you're comfortable with other people handling your baggage and you are planning on being in the room to have it delivered to you, I would definitely recommend going that route. But I did not take that route. I decided to sweat and drag my own luggage from resort to resort. Oh, back to Animal Kingdom Lodge. So this was a reservation that I made by renting a confirmed reservation on a DVC website. I believe it was dvcshoprentals.com is maybe the link. I might have to double check that, but it was somebody that was apparently very desperate to get rid of their reservation because I ended up getting this reservation for about $100 a night. And that's really why I ended up taking this trip, because I felt like I couldn't pass up that opportunity to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge for that cheap. And the reservation that I had just said it was a value accommodation, which I don't know if it's because it was so empty that they were able to give me a Savannah view or what, but I did request one through Touring Plans. They have a really cool feature where you put in your confirmation number for your reservation, and they have a room selector, and if they have pictures available from of the view from the balcony, you can look through those and decide, I want this room or one with a similar view, and 30 days out from your vacation, they'll send a room request to Disney. And it's worked really well for me every time. So I did request the Savannah view. I was very excited to see that I had gotten one, and I will literally never stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge again without one. I didn't think it was going to be as big a deal as it was, but it was so cool to just be sitting in bed watching TV and glance over at the balcony and see oh my God, there's a giraffe literally right there. Or I saw giraffes, I saw zebras, I saw crested, I think they were called crested cranes. It's these birds with the big feathery heads. I saw these weird birds with really big throat pouches. Kudu, I saw all kinds of stuff, and it was honestly the highlight of my trip. I would love to stay in this resort over and over and over again. I think it's become my favorite after this trip. But yeah, so when I checked in, I brought all my stuff up and I saw animals on the balcony right off the bat. I got really excited, ran to grab my phone and started taking a million pictures. And then I was I'm just going to hang out in the room for a little bit, cool down and rehydrate after a very, very hot day at Hollywood Studios. Which another big tip is please stay hydrated. I felt like I was seconds away from heat exhaustion when I got to my car to leave Hollywood Studios, because I had just been going and not taking the time to actually chill and hydrate.
That's good advice.
So yes, please make sure to do that. You get used to the mask really quickly, in my opinion, but that does not make it any less hot for your body. It just makes it less hot for your brain. So after I chilled out for a little bit, I headed to the pool at Animal Kingdom Lodge. There, I was at Jumbo House, and the pool there is very lush and makes you feel very, very far away from Disney, which was a very cool feeling to have, of being on property and not feeling like you're on property. You're not required to wear a mask in the pool, only walking to and from the pool. Once you're like inside the gates of the pool, you don't have to wear a mask. And that made me a little bit uncomfortable, so I didn't stay very long. Although it wasn't very crowded and I felt like I was far enough away from everybody, just the idea of it, I was still just very hesitant to be around random people with no masks on. So I went and sought out a hot tub, which I was lucky enough to have by myself, and hung out in there for a little bit because no one else was around without a mask on except for me. And I think they have 2 hot tubs, which is another thing. This is the first deluxe resort I've stayed in. Apparently that's exclusive to deluxe resorts, is that they have hot tubs. So that was really nice on my achy bones at the end of the day. Even though it was hot outside, it still felt nice.
Nice.
So after the hot tub, I was trying to dry off a little bit before I walked back to the room, so I went and checked out some of the other little wildlife overlooks they have at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which I didn't realize they have as many as they do. It's not only do they have the one that's like right off the lobby when you walk straight through the lobby to the back, but near the pool, they had like a flamingo pond, and they have other little overlooks in other places, which is really cool. It's felt very secluded and very truly like a vacation is supposed to feel, in my opinion.
That's good.
So I was in bed before 10, which is a true feat for me, especially. A little sacrilegious. There's a Harry Potter marathon on, so I fell asleep to watching that. And next day I woke up for my Epcot day, my full Epcot day. I did go to Epcot on the day I got there, but that was only for like a couple of hours. So Joshua drove his car over to meet me, and we rode the bus together to Epcot. We hopped on Spaceship Earth first thing when we got there, which was really cool because I thought when I went in February that was going to be the last time I was going to get to ride it before the refurb. And I ended up getting to ride it again, which was nice. The camera that does your little look into the future video has no idea what masks are or how to deal with. Did you guys see my photo?
I saw your photo.
It was truly haunting. It like stole my eyeballs for some reason. There were 2 gaping holes where my eyes are supposed to be. So I don't know if it just didn't realize I was there because my mask was covering half my face or what, but I think for Joshua, it cut off where his mask was. So he like didn't have a bottom half, and I was missing my eyeballs. It was really weird, but funny. I'm going to have to send you guys that video so you can see. It's a little bit spooky, but... So after that, I went to the Seas Pavilion. I did not ride the Seas with Nemo and Friends. Of course,
Bummer.
I had to throw that out there, Mario. I went in through the gift shop. But as always, love going into the Seas. We watched the manatees for a little while. We walked around the aquarium parts. The main aquarium is one way, so you have to go in one side and come out the other, which was interesting. A lot of the stuff inside there is one way. The escalators and the stairs and stuff all have signage indicating if you can go up or down or whatever. So that's another little precaution that they added in. And like I said, I kind of hinted at earlier, when we were walking into World Showcase, we caught a cute little cavalcade, and it had Pluto and Goofy and Minnie and Mickey waving and greeting everybody, and it was really cute. And kind of ended up getting stuck behind them because they were going the way we were going, so we just had like a little leisurely walk with them, which was fun. Had a lot of good food and wine festival snacks and beverages. Just enjoyed being in World Showcase overall. It was a lot less busy on this, I think, Wednesday. Yeah. It was a lot less busy on Wednesday than it was on Sunday, I'll say. So a lot of my kind of thinking that Sunday was busy because it was weekend turned out to be pretty true. Oh, we also rode Journey into Imagination, which Joshua had never ridden before.
I was about to ask whatever possessed you to ride that ride, but I guess there's the answer.
Well, I actually was the one that suggested it because I hadn't ridden it in a while, and I wanted to see the tennis shoes from the Computer War tennis shoes, which I did. They also had like a little, what is it, Letterman jacket hanging near the shoes, which I'm assuming is from the movie as well.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah.
was it worth it?
Yes, the $1 million question.
Honestly, going into it knowing that it's not a great attraction, I feel like made it feel less bad than it normally does when I'm like kind of dreading it. But because Joshua had never seen it before, and I was just like, okay, well, it's not, don't get excited. And just going into it with the sense of this attraction's not amazing, I was like, okay, actually wasn't as bad as I remembered. Plus, having the mask on made the skunk smell not as bad. So I think that helped.
The real winner.
Yeah. His, fast and easy review of it was, that was objectively bad. So
Very accurate.
Yep.
yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about in World Showcase was the World Showplace Pavilion, which is normally apparently where they have like seminars and stuff sometimes, or I don't know, conventions, but it's this big building in between the UK and Canada. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Is it like gated off kind of? Okay, yeah. They
Yeah, it has like a
also
fence in front of it.
So they also do, fun fact, character training there.
Oh.
Which every now and then, if you go in that area, sometimes they'll have they'll have rare characters come out and they'll do meet and greets there. And that's supposedly where they do like the training for people that are going to be, friends of different characters.
Okay. Well, right now it is open for Taste of Food and Wine Festival. There are, I think, 3 or 4 kiosks inside and lots of tables to sit and stand at. I think most of the tables are standing tables, but I think there were a few to sit at. It was pretty cool looking. It's got like a lot of lighting effects. So it was very blue inside, but that's not something that I feel like they normally do. And I feel like maybe they did it because of, the current situation with coronavirus and not wanting to crowd the sidewalks with extra kiosks. So that was kind of interesting. Also, a great place to use the bathroom because those are like the biggest like they have a men's and women's bathrooms in there. And Joshua and I had the same conclusion. Like, these are the biggest bathrooms on property. Or at least they felt like it was like just like this huge hallway of bathrooms. But yeah, so they had the macaroni and cheese booth in there. Had some mac and cheese from there. That was really good. They have desserts and champagne kiosk. And I had a nitro cake pop with Twix that was delicious.
Ooh.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, they like put it in like whatever nitrous stuff. It's like frozen, it like flash freezes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So it was interesting. It was good though. And I had so many food and beverage items. I don't want to go into the full list because that would just be the whole rest of the podcast. But so after a bunch of really good food and wine snacks, we decided to head out, and I really wanted to do another thing that has been on my Disney bucket list for a long time and go and have the bread service at Sanaa. So that's what we did. And
this was your first time doing the bread service?
Yes.
Oh, interested in your impressions here.
I do wish I was a little bit more sober than I was so that I could have enjoyed it a little more cognizantly. But A++ experience overall. I thought all of the dips were delicious. Obviously, I had my favorites, but I can't remember exactly what they were. If I like saw them, I might be able to tell you, but I thought it was a great experience, and it was like the perfect amount of bread for the dips, and I want to definitely do it again because I feel like I want to remember all of the dips. It was just like so many different things, and every one had a different, like very different flavor. It was wild.
Hey, it just means you have to go back.
That's true. It felt like, so it's only 9 dips, but it felt like 17 dips. I'm looking at my photo that I took of it and trying to remember which ones were my favorites. But it felt like a lot of dips.
Yeah, it does. It's been a very long time since we've done Sanaa bread service, but it definitely does feel like a lot more than a few.
Yeah. Also, want to give a shout out to our server, Svetlana, because she was amazing. She really took a lot of time, and I already did a cast member compliment for her. She took a lot of time to like talk to us and get to know us and stuff, and by the end of the dining experience, she almost had me convinced that I should move down there. Cause she's from Russia, I think. And she's like, I moved down here 15 years ago with nobody, and look how I'm thriving. She was giving me a pep talk because I always talk about how I go down to Disney so much. People always ask me, why don't you just move down there? And I'm like, I really don't want to live in Central Florida. But she gave me a very convincing argument and almost had me convinced by the end. But
So close.
yes.
So close.
But she was a really great server. So anybody that goes, I hope that you get to experience her. She was very nice and fun.
Awesome.
We also had a really nice experience with a bus driver on the way back because we had kind of accepted the fact that we were going to have to walk back to Jumbo House in the rain because Sanaa's at Kidani Village because the internal bus service had stopped by the time that we were leaving. But there was a bus dropping off from Disney Springs right when we were walking by, and I was like, Joshua, go ask him how long the walk is. And he went to ask him, and then he like motioned for me to get on, and the guy was like, I'll just drop you guys off, no problem. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. So A+ cast members all around at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Nice.
Sounds like overall it was a good trip.
It was. And it's not over yet, Mario. It's getting there, though.
No, you're good.
So my last full park day was Thursday when I went to Animal Kingdom. And I was by myself at the beginning, but Joshua and another friend met up with me later, which was nice. So I didn't have to be completely alone on this trip. Flight of passage, the wait was about 10-15 minutes, but I wanted to enjoy the queue, so I was totally fine with that because normally I'm in the fast pass queue and I don't actually get to see anything.
Let's back that up because you're over here saying, oh, the wait was 10-15 minutes. What is it on a normal day?
Like an hour.
Right. So 10-15 minutes is nothing.
I mean, it's something compared to the fast pass line.
All right, fair, I guess.
Plus, I felt like nobody was really rushing. Like, I could stop and take pictures if I wanted to. There was really nobody behind me for a little while. But I will say that there's only right now a partial pre-show. There's no fly.
Oh, thank God.
I was kind of sad though, because it's like I love to hate it, you know?
This is like the Bubblegum Castle. I'd be glad to see it go and happy I didn't have to experience it.
Yeah, so that whole first part of the pre-show is gone. There's no scanning for genetic matching or the Pandoran parasite decontamination stuff that they do. It just skips directly to the video and the dialogue you would experience in the second room. So it does have the part where Dr. Jackie Ogden talks about the program and whatever, but Dr. Stevens, the terrible actor guy, his appearance is very, very minimal. So for, some people like you, Brian, that could be seen as a benefit.
So it sounds like, we talked about the rides that are lacking because of the pre-show. Flight of Passage is the exact opposite, in which it's better because it doesn't have the pre-show.
It has enough of the pre-show to where you understand the concept of the attraction, but not the full. But after that, I went to have lunch and a drink at Nomad Lounge, and I caught a cavalcade on one of the, I guess it's a flotilla according to the terminology, of one of the boats floating by on the bridge to Pandora, and that was really cute. I actually, while I was at Nomad Lounge, caught all of the flotillas because I sat there long enough to where I guess I caught the whole circuit. So they have a few different ones going on right now. There was one with Pocahontas and I think Miko. And then there was one with Chip and Dale dressed as dinosaurs. There was Safari, Mickey and Minnie. And then there was one that had Donald, Daisy, and Launchpad McQuack. And
that was a deep cut.
I know. I thought it was really interesting that's a character that they went with. But also, I don't know how I feel about one of the songs when they went by, because they actually went by a couple of times. One of the times that they went by, they were playing that "Bird is the Word" song.
Oh,
and
why?
I know, I just felt really taken out of Animal Kingdom at that point. It did not feel like, because most of the other ones had kind of generic music, or like I think the Chip and Dale one had like a little upbeat kind of song, but I don't remember any of the other ones having words. But that one was just really jarring.
Yeah,
so
I don't think I would have liked that.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. But anyway, I do love Nomad Lounge, so I wanted to stop there and grab a drink. And I had the Impossible sliders, which were delicious, and they came with yucca fries, which were amazing. I want to eat them always instead of regular French fries, pretty much. And after that, decided to head to the bird show because I thought, oh, well, I'm going to catch the Up version because I haven't seen that yet, and then I can have an opinion on it. But the Up characters are not featured in the show currently. It is not Up, a bird show or whatever the name of it. It's actually called Feathered Friends in Flight currently. So it's like a modified version. It's like a in between almost. There were no characters.
So it's like Flights of Wonder Light.
Yeah, kind of. And it was interesting because I feel like with Flights of Wonder, you had that kind of tour guide guy that took you through stuff. This one had two hosts that were, I couldn't tell if this was part of the show, that they were, I don't know, almost inexperienced, or if it was them actually being inexperienced and like making light of it. But it was still really entertaining, and I didn't feel like, I still felt like they knew what they were doing, but it just felt like stuff was going wrong, quote unquote. And I couldn't tell if the stuff going wrong was because it was part of the show or not. Like, for instance, there was a bird that came up and untied one of the host's shoes. Like, he was trained to untie the shoes. And then the host retied the shoe and kept talking. And then the bird came back up and untied the shoe again. And then the host leaned down to tie his shoe, and the bird stole his microphone wire.
It sounds kind of like the shtick, but
I
would
thought
also
so,
be
too.
confused.
Did he like pull the bird to the side for a minute that you saw? Talking to him?
No, but it's just like, after that, the bird like ran off stage with the microphone wire, and his microphone like actually cut off. And I was like, is this part of the show? And then the guy, like, he was like, I'll be right back. I'm just going to go grab another microphone wire or whatever. And the guy left and like went off stage for a while. And the other host was a girl, and she kept going. And she's like, well, I guess we're going to have to move things around a little bit in the schedule. So let's bring out such and such a next. And so I can't tell if they were just that good of actors that it was part of the show and I couldn't tell if it was part of the show or what, but it was super entertaining, and I would love to see this version again to be able to tell for sure. But it did not have the up characters, which I was kind of disappointed because I wanted to see it, like I said, and be able to have an opinion on it, but I also am really glad I got to see this like weird, funny temporary version. So
it sounds like Flights of Wonder, and also this show might actually be an improvement if you go now.
There you go. So, excuse me. So we went back to Pandora after my friends arrived because I wanted to ride Navi River Journey and get my Ma'ewa on. And luckily the animatronic was there, so I didn't have to see the screen like a lot of people have been seeing lately. Then took a little leisurely stroll down the path from Pandora to Africa to head to the safari, which actually did have a little bit of a wait, maybe 20 minutes, but I feel like we got really lucky in seeing a lot of animals on it. So I don't know if they were more active at this time of day or because the crowds were like further between or what, but it was a nice safari experience. And then to top it all off, I went to ride Everest, which was literally a walk-on. I was shocked. Like, the wait was walking through the queue, which was wild to me.
Nice.
So headed back to Animal Kingdom Lodge and decided to catch the movie Under the Stars, which they are still doing at a lot of resorts, I found out. Obviously, had to go because The Princess and the Frog was the movie that they were showing that night. So I swam a little bit in the pool before the movie got started, and I went to grab a drink from the pool bar, and my girl Svetlana was bartending, so that was extra cool, and she recognized me from the night before, even with my mask on. So that was nice to see her again. And then I just chilled and watched the movie, and it was funny because it started off with like, I don't know, maybe 10 people socially distanced in their groups watching the movie. And as it went on, people would pick up and leave and pick up and leave. By the end of it, it was me and 2 other people in a group together watching this movie. It's like, how dare you folks? But after that, I headed back to the room and unfortunately had to start packing because I was checking out in the morning. So next day, had one last breakfast on the balcony with some animals and decided, you know what, I'm going to stay an extra night at Joshua's because I'm not quite ready to leave yet. And I'd heard of this Lakeland Antique Mall on a YouTube video where this guy had found a lot of cast member costumes and Disney resort furniture and props from the parks and stuff. And so I was like, let's make a day of it. And I'll stay an extra night so me and Joshua can go to this antique mall together. And it was really cool. And we found a ton of vintage Disney stuff and some potentially haunted items that were not Disney related. Definitely found a haunted baby doll. Obviously did not buy it.
You should have.
It was $700. Why would it be $700 if it wasn't haunted?
That's crazy.
It's got some major spirits in there.
Yes, I'm going to send you actually.
With expensive taste.
I'm going to send you guys the picture because you need to see. This was one of the first things that we saw when we were walking through the antique mall. And right off the bat, we were just like, that is a cursed item.
Oh my gosh.
$785. That is a cursed baby doll.
Did it come with the tricycle?
I'm assuming.
It's still not $780 worth, but
Yeah.
maybe an extra $5 for the tricycle.
I almost feel like somebody made this like to be this way, that something this creepy couldn't have occurred naturally.
I think that they're like spirit of their dead grandmother is inside of it, and that's why it's so expensive or something.
It's got sentimental value.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, yeah. But aside from creepy haunted baby dolls, they did have a lot of vintage Disney merchandise. They had a lot of really cute decorative plates, and I really wanted to find some of those old school glasses, like drinking glasses. You know what I'm talking about? Like you could get from McDonald's back in the day.
Yeah, they have them all over eBay.
I couldn't find any of them here, but I'm not gonna pay for them on eBay. So, oh well. If I find them one day, then I find them. But I did get a few cool items, which I did a little Instagram story show and tell the other day. I'll have to make it one of the little highlights on the page in case anybody missed it and wants to see my finds, because I found some cute stuff. But the highlight of my finds was this High School Musical book that had all these little interactive pieces in it. And Joshua had to talk me into buying it because I was like, no, I don't need this. This is not something that I need. He's like, yes, it is. I need this. And I
Judging
did.
by your Instagram stories, that was definitely something you needed.
I know. It was a good call. He knows me well. But I will say that if anybody out there is planning on going to Lakeland Antique Mall, I think it's probably half an hour or so from property. So it's not going to be easy to get to unless you're driving yourself, and probably not somewhere you want to go on a park day. You're probably not going to have time, but I would recommend it. It was really big. We spent about 3 hours in there. It was like the size of a Walmart. So, but there were lots of cast member costumes. If you've ever wanted to own a Pete Safari shirt, that's the place to go, apparently.
Question, did you buy the Pete Safari shirt?
No, I did not buy the Pete Safari shirt. That was on my worst cast member costumes on that episode we did recently.
But
We're kind of ironically.
Yeah, if you got to own one,
where would I wear it?
It's your next outing.
Where wouldn't you wear it?
I'm
That's
gonna wear
the big question.
When coronavirus is all over, I'm going to wear it to the bars and go bar hopping in my Pete Safari costume.
Listen, I'm sure that's not too uncommon in the bars near Disney World.
Yeah.
I think you're actually, I know for at least the Disney Springs employees, you're not allowed to drink on property in your in your work uniform.
I'm sure you're not allowed to do a lot of things in that work costume.
Yeah. But I will say also, but when I left Animal Kingdom Lodge that morning and was going to Joshua's, I stopped at Wawa once again, of course. I stop at Wawa as many times as I can on my Disney trips. But the Wawa that I stopped at must be like the cast member like go-to Wawa, because I saw like 3 or 4 cast members like in their costumes going to get their coffee or whatever from Wawa, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, so after we got done with our antiquing, we stopped by this little Asian market that Joshua likes, got some snacks, some boba tea, grabbed a pizza on the way back to his place, and settled in for the night. And I made him watch Tangled Before Ever After because he had never seen it. And he kept saying, they're going to explain about the black rocks, right? They're going to explain about it? And I just kept being like silent. And then, this is kind of a spoiler. So if you haven't seen Before or Ever After, fast forward a little bit. Have you got? I know Mario's seen it. Have you, Brian?
I haven't.
Oh man. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say it at all then. Anyway, it was funny. He's a big Tangled fan, so it was funny to watch him get to experience this new side of the story that he hadn't seen before. So I know we talk about Tangled, the series, a lot in the Discord, and I'm making my way through that. I would definitely recommend it. But of course, watch Tangled Before Ever After first, because it leads right in.
I feel like you're going to hit season 3 of Tangled and just binge it.
Yeah, probably. But so yeah, we just settled in for the night, hung out, and got to enjoy some time with my bestie, which was nice. And next morning, packed up and made one last Wawa run before the trek home for my quarantine. Which
You and Wawa.
I love Wawa so much. I got a Wawa mask. I know you said that you were gonna mail me one, which is really nice, but now you don't have to because I got one.
I kid you not. I was in a Wawa like fairly recently, right before your trip, and I saw the Wawa mask, and my first thought was, Beth needs that.
And I did. I wasn't planning on getting it until I saw it, but then I saw it and I was like, well, obviously I have to get it. I was just like checking out. I'd gotten my little like hoagie and was at the register, and they were hanging beside the register. And he's like, is that everything for you? And I was like, this too. And snatched it.
I'll take this mask.
Like I need another mask. I did need this Wawa mask though.
It's got the Wawa goose on it.
Yeah. I think his name is Wally.
You would know more about that than I would.
Wally the Wawa goose. But yeah, so did my quarantine. Got my test results back today. I'm officially coronavirus free, so I'm back home to Laz and my kitties, and I could not be happier to not be lonely and bored anymore.
I'm watching crappy TV.
Oh my gosh. The funny thing is, and I don't know if you guys want to wrap it up and this be post show or what, but
sure, why not?
Well, I guess before we wrap it up, do you guys have any questions or comments or anything that I didn't cover?
I don't specifically. It sounds like if you're on the fence about going, it's not as bad as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely don't think that any of us would recommend unnecessary travel at this time.
Correct. So I definitely would not have chosen to make this trip if I had not gotten such a good deal on the Animal Kingdom room. Also, don't think I would have been comfortable flying, and knew that I would be able to drive because I always drive. So there's that. Also wouldn't have gone if I knew this was going to be my once in a while or once in a lifetime or once every 5 years kind of trip. Definitely don't go into it expecting it to be what you're used to if you do decide to go. Because it's very, very different than a normal Disney trip. But different doesn't necessarily mean bad. I had a great time. I felt like it renewed my soul a little bit after months and months of not doing pretty much anything fun. So if you're on the fence and you needed convincing, you needed a sign, here you go. But don't go planning a trip just because you heard that I had a good time.